Do you want to introduce this for us, please?
Hi, and thank you. And through you, the chair, I just wanted to acknowledge Richard, who's also back in the audience there as part of New Energy, and Niraj traveling here from Ottawa. We gave him the virtual option, but he did travel all the way down, and we want to thank you for that. The chief and I came to know about New Energy last year through our travels and discussions. As you know, we've done over 2 years of community engagement on specifically artificial intelligence and technologies that impact public safety. The board itself, through Mr. Len Carby, led a year-long governance engagement with the community on governance AI framework. So we have all this feedback from our community. We have feedback from our partners, our vendors, technology experts, our members, and our executive. And now we're sitting with that information, and what we want to do is co-join it in some of the work and the recommendations that talk about how now we should be looking to not just implement and educate our members, but also monitor. And this is why we've invited New Energy here today to speak to that. We also saw their presentation to the York Regional Police Services Board and others, and we were impressed, and we asked them to come speak to you today.
Thank you, Deputy Chief, Chair, Chief, and board members. It's a privilege to be here. Yes, I admire Peel Regional Police and the board and the topics that are coming up. And, you know, I'll just recap the topics that are on your mind and on my mind. Trust, transparency, innovation, oversight. These are topics that you're talking about throughout all your conversations. A lot of great things happening here. Vanguard, I appreciated the chair's comments earlier. But as 2026, we now have a transformation going on in AI. And there's a huge change going on around us. And so we're leveraging this technology, but these questions about trust, transparency, innovation, and oversight are right in front of us. I was very pleased to receive a copy of the report prepared by the Governance and Human Rights Committee for Peel Regional Police and the Community Consultations Report, because I think it speaks, as the Deputy Chief says very clearly, that there is an opportunity to leverage technology and advance your important mandate using technology as a leader in policing. But there's also some risks and some public trust issues that we need to make sure we keep in front of us. So with that, I'm pleased to be here, and I'm happy to introduce myself and New Energy and how we have been involved in this topic. I'm not going to go through my bio. I think it's involved. I'm pleased that I spent a decade in Peel working here with this great community. But we really have looked at building a team that's not focused only on the opportunities with AI, but how to manage it and make sure that we build public trust as we deploy AI. So not only am I representing Richard and our team at New Energy, but we have a team of experts and faculty involved in this topic, subject matter experts. And these are a combination of AI experts as well as governance experts, because what we're talking about is getting practical and on executing and implementing guardrails and monitoring so that we can build trust as we deploy artificial intelligence. This report that our team has read, we applaud you all for what we see in this report. Clearly, the message from your community is very loud and clear that there is support for innovation. Your mandate is very important to the community, but safeguards are really important, and that transparency of how we're using technology like AI really helps drive trust. And the human oversight is essential. So the report speaks very clear, and I applaud the board for the direction I hear the board is embarking on, a policy, making sure we do the right impact assessments on our use of advanced technologies like AI, and registering and reporting openly with the community on what we're doing. But there are risks, and a number of them come up: ethical questions, bias that can be implemented into this technology, privacy concerns, black boxes, limited transparency. So how do we make sure that we build trust as we embark in this reality of advanced technologies? The bad guys are using it. We need to make sure we're leveraging the technology, being more effective in our work administratively and in policing, but making sure it's an operational reality so we can actually move forward with the outcomes in this report. And the quote in the bottom right of my slide here is right from the document. Every step forward reinforces public trust, fairness, and dignity. So we need to make sure we advance our use of technology like AI, and hats off to you all for doing this community consultation, being on the leading edge of technology and governance, but certainly in this day and age with AI, the work is ahead of us. Yes, we can applaud all the great work that's happened, but there is work ahead to make sure that we use these advanced technologies. As the Deputy Chief mentioned, we have presented from NuEnergy.ai with a number of police boards, with the Government of Canada and other organizations. So I do have a few slides from the presentations we've done elsewhere, and happy to take questions about how practically you can govern AI in today's climate and making sure you're listening to the public. And I start by saying that I'm pleased to report from our work over the last decade, AI can be trusted, but we need to have guardrails. We need to have oversight. And so there are fears about AI, but there's huge opportunities in leveraging the technology. And so it's not a given that we can trust AI, but certainly there are ways to do that. But, you know, when we started NuEnergy.ai and our embarkation in this topic of governing AI, there was a lot of concerns about the risks of AI. I'll speak to some of them. But today, the biggest risk is not engaging the technology. There's just a huge need and opportunity for advancing. It's a complex world that you're all working so hard in. AI can really advance your effectiveness and serve the public really well. And I think the consultation of the community was loud and clear. There is encouragement to use these advanced technologies, and a big risk of being left behind. So we want to encourage the use of technology with the right guardrails. I do represent a company, NuEnergy.ai. There's a number of organizations that are focused on AI governance. What our organization has done is built a process and a platform and a team that helps be a third-party reviewer of AI, and making sure that we can create a green light where it makes sense and a red light where we need to hold back and monitor AI effectively. So with that, I also share that we have been focusing on law enforcement. And so this topic, as you all know, is not new to the law enforcement industry. We've had conversations with CACP, CAPG, IACP, Interpol, and represented Canada globally. We've done tests with the RCMP, and so we have been really focused on law enforcement and its use of technology, and understanding the unique risks that are in law enforcement on building on public trust and measuring AI activities. So with our company, NuEnergy.ai, we've been working with the RCMP and the federal government to the point where we're now approved as a third-party reviewer with the Government of Canada on the use of AI. I'll borrow a couple of slides here as I introduce this topic. And again, it's not new to you, but I like the headline from Interpol from a few years ago, that AI really can be the ace up our sleeve to ensure safety and security of our communities. So there's a huge opportunity to advance our mandate by leveraging the technology in many different ways. And so there is a great opportunity, but again, while we advance the use of these technologies for our mandate, public trust is at stake. And so we really need to make sure that in parallel to looking at these technologies, we are building trust and listening to the community and measuring and monitoring what we're doing and being transparent in what we're doing. So the risks in AI, I think you're quite aware. The report speaks of them well. Privacy concerns, ethical issues, bias issues, transparency, governance, many topics, and there are headlines of AI going rogue or people making the wrong choices with their use of AI, and we know how important public trust is to your organization, and the last thing you want to do is go down the wrong area. So good governance, and right at the board level, this is really important that the oversight is there and the policies and procedures are in place. This slide I borrow, we co-presented with Toronto Police at the IACP. There's a recognition that AI is now a very broad topic. It's no longer maybe someday, it's today, it's the genie's out of the bottle, it's all around us now. So we need to classify the AI and make sure we govern it effectively, recognizing that there's some high-risk cases and some low and moderate risk cases. So we need to determine how we best govern the AI. The adage that I borrowed from business school from many years ago that we all know, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. We need to understand, we need to have literacy, we need to measure it and manage it and put the right guardrails and effective measures. And so again, this report you've generated with the community sets the table very well for what matters to the community and how can we measure, what do we need to measure and report on so we can manage it. This slide I borrowed from a presentation and work we did with another police board, and then recognizing for Peel, what are the classifications of AI that we need to have, and what are the governance actions that we're going to take and need to take now? Policy and training, oversight, independent third-party reviews on higher risk items, and then certain ones we just don't do. We need to make a very clear distinction of what is acceptable to our community and what isn't, and make sure we have the guardrails for that. And then when we do go into the moderate or high-risk areas, we do it with a proper assessment, monitoring, and reporting on the topics that are so important to our community. So, you know, there's clearly a role for oversight. We're an independent third-party reviewer and recognize that there's really good headway of direction happening at Peel, but really advancing the technology and use needs to be monitored. And we've learned a lot of lessons about how do we do this and monitor use cases and uses of AI. Sometimes we really just need to monitor the users. Other times it's use cases. We need to monitor the data. And, you know, the topic of bias, you know, I know is well understood, is a concern rightfully in law enforcement globally about building trust and, you know, systemic racism and other concerns. When we talk about AI, there's a risk clearly of exacerbating some of the bias, but there's also an opportunity to measure and monitor and get better at this topic. So people are biased, machines are biased. The good news with machines and AI is you can measure it and we can monitor it and set thresholds of what's acceptable. So we recommend proceeding down the track of your report where you update your policy, you engage third-party review, continue the public consultation and build oversight processes and implement a configurable framework. So this is, again, some slides we presented to other places. We've worked with a number of organizations and certainly believe you're on the right track with the report you have, but the next steps are key. So happy to take any questions or feedback on the governance of AI. But again, I think the report you have sets the table very well. This is a very important topic to your community, huge opportunity to leverage the technology for your effectiveness, but getting to the outcomes of making sure you do this responsibly and have accountability and transparency, there is work ahead. And I applaud you all for moving in that direction and pleased to be here as part of the conversation.
Thank you. And questions, Ms. Coley, please.
Thank you so much for this update. It's a fantastic summary of really our report. And I wanted to just take a minute, I think from a broader perspective, if someone's not aware, just to give a quick background on this report and that was released. So last year, the Governance and Human Rights Committee undertook this opportunity to go out to the community to get their input and feedback. And I think you made a very fair point about the guardrails and ensuring, and I think that was really one of the biggest purposes, to ensure that we heard from them, ensured that we're also taking into account every possible aspect before we go ahead and roll out with this. So, and I think, you know, key to mention was there were three really simple perspectives, was really ensuring that as policing evolves, so must our oversight. AI is already here, so it must be governed with transparency. And I think if those that don't think it's here, I think will be really awakened. And I think at the end of the day, we want to make sure there's transparency, accountability, and a strong lens to human rights. And I think that was really a big perspective. And I encourage those that get a chance to go and see the report. I know press release was also sent out. A lot of work went into that. I also thank our ARAC committee as well for their input and feedback. As a board, I think we really work hard to ensure that we take into account, all possible opportunities for input as we roll out, and technology especially, more than anything now, because it is kind of where it's all evolving to. So with that, I want to say thank you to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing more work come through. I really want to take a moment to also thank Deputy Anthony Eduardi and Superintendent Dirk Niles, because there's so much work behind the scenes that's gone on to this. On behalf of the board and the Governance and Human Rights Committee, there's so much work that's happening, and I want to say thank you to you and how it's coming to light, and even working with vendors to ensure that every element is looked at before even we pick vendors to work with. So that's, I think, really important aspect for the public to know as well. So just a big shout out, and thank you to our committee members, Mr. Len Carby, Vice Chair Omar Khan, and of course, Chair Nandi Unica also sits on it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carby.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report and presentation today. Just following up on the comments by Samita Kohli on what we learned during our deputations and public engagement sessions, and I'll be very specific around one element that kept coming up, and you stated it here: AI can be trusted, and I think our community typically agreed with that. The challenge they had is trusting the guardrails and trusting those who are putting the guardrails in place. And one of the things that came out was it's important to have continued community engagement in that process. And you made reference to a AI governance committee, and that piqued my interest. Are there any models that you can speak to that has something like this, and what's the level of community involvement in a committee like that? Because I think as we go along, when we're trying to build this, oversight of this, we want to know what level of engagement should we be having with the community. Yes, there's third-party review, and that may be one organization or company that is going to help us through that. Any models around community engagement going forward?
Excellent feedback and questions, and I think there's two parts to it. One is the next steps are key. So I agree with the report is a testament to you all, and congratulations for getting there. But the next steps are key, and the next steps are to build a more specific framework on how we're going to classify AI and what we're going to do. What's the governance approach for each classification? This is what we've learned, is that it used to be it was machine learning, certain use cases, we knew they were coming, artificial intelligence, facial recognition. Now it's all over. So we need to determine how do we classify the AI and what's the right guardrails. It's not one size fits all. So working with your organization and the community, we can identify that, okay, for certain classes of AI, we're going to have a committee oversight, or we're going to have an independent third-party review, but it needs to be reported back. And what are those metrics we're going to measure? Are we going to measure bias? Are we going to measure privacy? Are we going to report back? So that follow through is critical to build that trust. And so the committee is one of the methods. It may or may not be the right one, but we certainly don't want to overgovern. We don't want to undergovern. We don't want to stop using these technologies where they make sense. But yeah, creating the right structure is the next step, and reporting back with the community and making sure that they're engaged. So that transparency needs to continue.
Thank you. Niraj, thank you very much for your presentation. I've been around a while, and all the parallels I'm going to give you, this is one that comes to mind. So it was many, many years ago in Mississauga, where I was a councillor, we were hiring a new fire chief. And of course, everybody puts their word in, et cetera. And the hardcore firefighters were saying, we know it should be Bob. He's put out every kind of fire. He understands firefighting. Now he can get under the truck and overhaul the engine if we need him to. And then somebody in the room that was giving us guidance said, remember, 90% of the time a fire truck shows up, they're not putting out a fire. We thought about that. By the way, I've never had a fire. Nobody on my street's ever had a fire. I've never seen a fire. None of my family. And yet there we were on the old paradigm, but you need the heart. Maybe the industry has evolved. I won't bore you with the details. It's what's led to paramedics today. And saying, do we need 12 folks in a fire truck to show up when somebody's got heart pains, but they're the first one? Now, maybe a paramedic, the evolution. I'm seeing that evolution in policing where, in a manner of speaking, we're becoming a technology company in some ways. Still need the boots on the ground, still need the hardcore cop and woman that are coming in, the officers, male and female, because the boots on the ground and the smart, intelligent, will never stop. But by the same token, technology is taking us over. I, for years, by the way, I'm getting credit for coining this phrase because people in the industry haven't. Maybe it's my investment background. But you need to show us what I call the technology dividend.
Yeah.
Because we're spending millions on it, and our team has really hit it out of the ballpark with NG 911. It's the one that 911, that we used to say, boy, we invested a lot, but look at what's happened to our call times.
Right.
And it seems to me, and we've got our team here that's at the vanguard of it, as you say, embracing and understanding technology and the investments that we have to make to continue on. Still need the folks with the uniforms on to do the job, but there's no question technology will lead to our salvation going forward. And I'm very proud, and I'll use the word one more time, that we in Peel are on the vanguard, and it's been embraced by this team. And it keeps us in good stead because there's only finite resources, and we have to find other ways of doing the work within the budgets that we have. And the solutions got to go through this at one point or another. So thank you very much to you. Thank you very much for the team and for what we do to embrace exactly that. If Ms. Coley will move receipt of the delegation, all those in favor?